In the most divisive of times, the great debates rage on. Who was the best Batman? Was the book truly better than the movie? Did Han shoot first? Nerds with Opinions will seek to answer life's greatest questions. Hello there, fellow nerds. You are listening to Nerds with Opinions, episode number 146. As always, I'm your host, Matt Holben. Today on the podcast, I am joined by returning guests Logan Herzog and Toni Williams, and we are discussing AEW's Revolution 2025 pay-per-view. We talk about it in depth. It was the highest of highs, and, the mids of mids. But all in all, it was a great pay-per-view, and we cover it in depth here today on Nerds with Opinions. I am back with a large part of the Markout Club. I have to say something. I'll tip my hat right now. There was a burial that happened at the last pod. I'm almost done editing it. It's going to come out, the Elimination Chamber one. Tim went in on you guys. He went in on you guys. So he's not here today. Would you like to make a rebuttal for a burial?
I mean, I don't take it that personally. He's only done 2 podcasts ever, so
Oh man, I think enough said. Well, Toni, you got a rebuttal to Tim?
No. I mean, I missed the last one in a couple ones, but I've definitely been here more than he has.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll be awaiting your answer, Tim. We are here. The Markout Club is in the house. I am with returning guest Toni Williams. How you doing, brother?
Doing good.
And Logan Herzog. How you doing, man?
Hey, doing good, man. Glad to be here.
So we are gonna go over AEW's Revolution 2025 pay-per-view, and I think as a friend group that likes wrestling, we've been a little hit and miss with these AEW pay-per-views. But I gotta admit, man, every time I watch one, there's always some sort of problematic stuff, but for the most part, I think they still put on a great pay-per-view, which is kind of the duality of AEW.
No, this was definitely a better one for sure. I was, sometimes I leave them and I'm like, ugh, but this is a good one. There was a series of really good matches on there, so I'm excited to talk about, especially some of those later ones. Those last
I really only have a critique for one of these majorly, so and we'll get there. Spoiler alert, it's the main event. But I thought so. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna start talking about it, but I'll wait till we get there.
So I thought we could speed run the pre-show matches and just kind of not even really give thoughts on them. We'll just rate them real quick. So Commander and Hologram defeated Lee Johnson and Blake Christian by pinfall in a tag match. Give your rating if you remember this one. It was early in the night.
And I'm gonna say late.
I'm gonna say 4. I'm gonna give it a 4 because it was like a lot of AEW pre-show matches, absolutely no story, but it was.
And it was obviously it was a shorter one too, so it was kind of they just kind of went until it was over. So I'd say as far as storytelling, like you said, not a lot there, but as far as the actual in-ring match, I think 4 is fair. It was good.
Yeah, I'm just judging it on in-ring as well.
I think 4 is a good call. I'll agree with you on that one.
So you were late for I can't remember when you showed up, Toni.
During this match, I think is when he got
during this match. Okay, then let's go right to the next one. Daniel Garcia and the Undisputed Kingdom defeated Shane Taylor Promotions in an 8-man tag match. You got to have a giant tag match, multi-man tag match in these AEW pre-show matches. I don't know. This was a 3 for me. I think the more interesting thing was clearly the the beef at the end between Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole. I think that's like they're clearly building to that. But this was a thing of like just trying to get more people on the card, it seemed like. But so I'll go 3. It was
I was
fine.
gonna say I'd probably do like 3.5 because it was decent, but it's just like I won't say always, but as often with an 8-man tag match, it was kind of chaotic and everything. But got to give my love to Undisputed Kingdom. The boys. Hopefully they'll be off of the pre-show and have some.
Well,
main
my dream is Bobby Fish gets healthy and they re-sign him and they actually like put this group back to its former glory.
I'd love it.
I don't know. We can dream. T-Will, you got some thoughts on this match?
I don't think there's going back to like NXT.
Well, no, but they could book them better than they currently are.
You can say that about a lot of people in AEW.
That's true.
For sure. But I mean, honestly, like that group of guys, that might be one of the greatest falls. Like them and like Keith Lee. Like if you think about how white hot they were, and then how like where they're at now. It's. I
mean, I give Keith Lee a little bit of a pass because he had some health issues again, but still, like when he came back or if he's coming back, I don't even know where he is.
When he's been an active member on this roster, it's not been great.
No,
let's just call a spade a spade. You got a rating for this match, Tony?
I enjoyed it. I forgot that Daniel Garcia like turned face and everything. So yeah, so yeah. No, I had no problem with this. This was a good one.
Okay. We have to talk about this match because Logan's favorite wrestler of all time.
My favorite wrestler of all time, dude.
Big Boom AJ. And the conglomeration, Orange Cassidy and Mark Briscoe. Accompanied by Big Justice and the Rizzler, of course. Defeated Johnny TV and Eminem Collection by pinfall in a trios match. Got to be honest, this was entertaining. I hate to admit it. It was entertaining. I'm going to give it a 4. Some of the nonsense that was done, particularly Eminem Collection, they're absolute gold. Push them to the fucking moon.
I love them. Yeah, they're a great like comedic.
The booty pop,
sure.
The booty pop offense. Goddamn, so hilarious. Yeah, fun. Like not a match that we're gonna be talking about in 10 years, but I enjoyed it.
So I can appreciate Big Boom AJ just because like he's an actual worker, like he actually has some skills and everything, and I think that's really cool for him. And I can't fault somebody for like getting a chance to like relive their prior wrestling career in a bigger way and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't love the whole social media influencer thing, and that's how he got back into the spotlight with that, and that. Big Justice, okay, that's one thing, but like, dude, the Rizzler, I'm like, get that kid out of here. Like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be very old man yells at Cloud, but I'm not a fan of the Rizzler being part of their little faction. So I did think it was pretty funny that he came out dressed like Cassidy. So that was it.
That popped me as well.
That was better than him just sitting there stroking his face the whole time, like which he did, but at least he had something in common with the team.
I'm very much over the Riz thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a large portion of the country is, but then a large portion of the country can't get enough. So it's still relevant. But I mean, it's
put asses in seats, I guess, let it happen. But
I think unfortunately, just because of how big a thing like influencers and social media stars and streamers are, we've seen it. And I think we're of an age that it's not going to connect to us when you have like iShow Speed and Kai Sentat and these guys like in wrestling, but they're people that are a good like 15 years younger than us are eating this up, and so. And that's the one thing is like wrestling's always had its finger on the pulse of culture, and as much as I'm not a fan of it, because I'm like, dude, these guys are taking spots from, actual workers. I agree with you, Logan, that Big Boom AJ, I think he gets a little more credit than some of these jabronis that are not workers, like Travis Scott, who comes in here and just like bear pawing people with like no finesse at all. Like Big Boom AJ, I would not say he is the greatest worker I've ever seen, but he knows psychology. He knows the moves, and I agree that it is kind of, it's cool that a guy like is like, hey, well now I've got an avenue to like go back to this thing that I was doing well before I was, talking about double chunk chocolate cookies. So
cookie.
Let's go right into the main card. The opening match, Hangman Adam Page defeated MJF by a pinfall, and this is kind of a blood feud match. So thoughts on Hangman and MJF?
Loved it. Thought it was a great match. I completely forgot until I just looked something up on this in a little review that in typical MJF heel fashion, whenever he comes out and he's using Hangman's old theme.
Yeah.
At the beginning, before he pulls the old switcheroo. That was great heel move. He's like an amazing heel. He's got really good like tactics for just being kind of a dick.
He's got a punchable face for sure.
Yeah, he's got a very punchable face. So.
Punchable tan.
And one of the worst tans exactly I've ever seen.
Good Lord. So,
yeah. It just burned hot dog. But like, no, yeah, he's it was interesting because Tony, I think you'd even mentioned something about the old Hangman music before that started, and then we heard that we're like, oh my gosh, he is doing his old theme, and then nope, we got duped on that one.
That's a sign to me though that they should consider bringing that back because people popped for it.
Exactly. No, and I vastly prefer it. I mean, like I understand that like, heel versions of characters need different intros just because it brings a different vibe and everything. But like, I think it might be about time for him to become a face again anyway. So,
wait a minute, I've been had.
Yeah. But really good match. Pretty nasty, but I enjoyed it a lot. I thought that they both did a great job.
What do you think about the spot where MJF hit Hangman in the face with his crotch?
Another great heel move. I mean,
great heel move. Yeah. That's an interesting one that I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that.
I was like, hope he's wearing a cup.
That got put on one of the, when I'm watching wrestling by myself and it's like the intense parts of the match. And then when my parents walk in and that was that clip.
Yeah.
I do remember whenever Hangman hit near the end when he hit MJF with the angel's wings and like he landed directly on his face. It was pretty.
That was scary.
Yeah. There was a couple spots on this pay-per-view where I was just like, where it's like, it looked realistic because it was real. Like,
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just your face. You don't need that.
Yeah. But no, good match for sure.
My only critique on it is I thought it was a little too long.
It was a good 19 minutes.
Yeah, I think they could have shaved a couple minutes off of it, especially being an opener. But
yeah. But at the same time, the opener is one of the important ones. You got to get the crowd going for it.
No, I agree with you, but I think that it would just. I think they kind of hit a logical ending point, and then they went a few minutes beyond that, where it was like, I don't know. Not every match can or should have a million false finishes, and I think that's the one larger critique of AEW that I would say is like
AEW definitely does that way more for sure.
They go into the well of the million false finishes for almost all their matches. So and 100%. This was, anyways, that's all.
What's funny is like we'll bitch moan and complain about like stuff like that, and then if it's like a squash match, we're like, oh, it shouldn't have been a squash. I think
there's definitely a happy middle ground though, for sure.
Yeah, you have to have like I think Lesnar Cena, that SummerSlam where Lesnar squashed Cena, and everyone was just like, why the hell would they do that? This is like, no. Think about it like storyline wise. Think about it like I'm going to use the word lore wise. Like I think Cena mentioned it in a interview. Like you just beat the streak. It's not like if we do a 50-50, that takes away from that. Like, no, you need to go in and destroy. Where AEW is just like, oh no, we're going to make everyone do everything they can ever do. And
12 times
just to make just to make them look cool. But like there's no more like storytelling in AEW. There used to be, like with Hangman.
Well, so I would disagree. I think we get to that later in the card. But
I do agree with you, Tony. It seems like they're a lot more looking at like just this match as an isolated incident rather than like the matches prior or the matches to come. You know, there's not as much of a wide view when they're booking them.
And maybe I'm the old man this time, but like back in my day, it was just like you didn't need a million false finishes, you didn't need 600 high spots. Like you just put together a good match that makes sense, and a false finish maybe once or twice, depending. So if it's like underdog babyface, you give him like 2 or 3 false finishes where he's kicking out, and then have him hit his finisher like 2 or 3 times on the bad guy and then put them away. Like you don't both get 9 false finishes in one match.
And you know, I think that's you are a little bit doing the old man thing, but at the same time, it's like I do think that it cheapens not just it doesn't protect finishers, you know, which we've talked about, but it also cheapens a false finish, because I find myself a lot of time, especially when watching AEW pay-per-views, especially whenever they've already done it like 6 times on this one card, I find myself watching somebody, air quotes, about to get pinned, and I'm just like, nah, they're gonna kick out, because I'm like jaded with the fact that, you know, there's so many false finishes that I'm like, yes, it looks like that was going to be the end, but I don't think it will be because of how many times they've already gone to the well with this. So
yeah, getting the, what I've been calling in my head, the mat pop of like, oh, I thought it was over. It was just like, it's when you get that, it's like, okay, no, that was a good one. But like, so like the next match I'll bring this up again, but when you know 100% for sure, it's like this isn't where the match ends. Like I know 100%. Like you have to be able to sell the disbelief of like, that could have been the end.
Yeah.
I think part of that though is I do agree that a little bit of it is where wrestling is currently at. I think a little bit of it is kind of how this company likes to book. But I think a large part of it is also if you become a quote unquote smart mark, you've watched enough stuff that like you kind of know how the sausage is made a little more than like a casual fan. And so I do think it can't all be blamed on how these companies book. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. You're right.
I do think that if you start knowing how to look for the seams, you're going to start seeing them.
Yeah. No.
So I think there's we kind of have to, we can't completely put all the blame on the companies. But to give a counter argument to the earlier thing about matches that have less storytelling and more high spots, I will say, I do think that, of course, I think AEW leans more to like, okay, this is just kind of a work rate match and not much storytelling. They do that more than say a WWE, but I do think that a really good wrestling card, you have peaks and valleys, you have your storytelling match, you have your high spots match, maybe you have a violent match, maybe you have, you know, a comedy match. And so I do think that the little to no storytelling and just high spot, they're not the matches that you're going to be talking about in 10 years, but those are needed. You know, I think that's what makes like and sometimes those are the matches we talk about many, many years later, because they might just go beyond kind of what people think are possible. Like a TLC 2, for instance, people still talk about that because it's like the stuff those guys did to each other should not have been done. The human body's not made to do that. So I do think that those have their time and place.
To add to add to what you're talking about, the TLC match is like when you go into a TLC match, you expect high spots and everything like that. But when you're just having it's a fucking opener for AEW Dynamite and they're doing fucking 640s and fucking blah, blah, blah. Every other move is a million flips and everything like that. But like you need that every once in a while, just a classic back and forth. Like we'll talk about it with this main event one, which unfortunately is whatever, but like a good back and forth, slow build match. You don't need to just like go out the gate, swing in, flip in, and false finish every single time. But like with the TLC, it's like, you're very much going to jump off a ladder. You're going to go through a table. You're going to land on a pile of chairs, but they don't immediately start with it. It's like, you got to build up to it.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I'm just making a counter argument to like, I think that there is a place for some of what AEW does with that kind of being more the focus, but so ultimately I liked this match. I thought it was like I said earlier, a little too long, but in terms of a blood feud, like they did some spots that were really, really gnarly and kind of like, okay, yeah, they took it to another level by, like tombstone on a chair, or, hitting somebody in the face with your own penis. Like that's, but I definitely liked it. It's also, especially, I think these guys, they're an interesting feud because I think they're opposite sides of the coin, of the same coin, where they're like that kind of day one pillar of AEW,
Sure.
Similar. I think Hangman's a little older than MJF, but like younger guy, came up from the indies before this, and they're gonna probably be the guys that AEW relies on once some of these older ex-WWE guys eventually retire. So I think they have good chemistry for sure. Let's rate this thing. I'm gonna go flat 4.
Yep.
I agree. 4 out of 5.
We rarely all agree. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next match.
4.05.
Mercedes Moné defeated Momo Watanabe by submission to retain the AEW TBS Championship. Thoughts?
We all, when we were watching this, we all knew what was going to happen. Obviously,
because that's how it works for her.
Yes, but I gotta say the one thing. So you're totally right, but I will say the one thing about having Mercedes matches be so predictable nowadays, because she wins all the time, is whoever she faces, I become their biggest fan.
No, for sure. Exactly. No, and like when we were watching, I was like, I've never even heard of Momo Watanabe, but I
want her to win
I want her to win so badly. Yeah.
Momo Mania was running wild, brother, while we were watching this.
So yeah, obviously, it went the way it went. Mercedes retained one of her 17 belts. But I was rooting for her. I do think that there was a couple spots that she had put on that were like, they were good, but I was like, okay, this is not quite on the same level as some whenever you get a couple really, really good workers in the ring together. But she was still did a great job, and it was a good match. But ultimately the end was predictable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, this would have been one of those ones where I was like, I'd be so fine if the match ended right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will give talent like a Mercedes that like refuse to lose and book themselves all this, like you were just saying, like you become the biggest fan of whoever they're not or whoever they're going up against, which subconsciously will honestly make you pay attention to the opponent more, and you might actually find a new favorite, like out of nowhere.
Well, and I mean, like it's a good way to make yourself, a permanent heel in that way. So I guess if that's the goal, then yeah.
Pro Momo. I like Momo.
Yeah, I became a fan and same. And so I think that is a positive byproduct of, like you were saying, Tony. I also, I liked that. I think Logan brought up a point of there were a couple moments where it seemed like, just briefly, that they weren't completely gelling, but I did like the fact that this felt more like a Japanese match than it felt like an American wrestling match. And so I think, as much as say what you want about Mercedes, I do think she has the ability to adapt to other people's styles. And we saw that a lot in WWE. And so I enjoyed that some of the spots felt like a Japanese match where they're pretty gnarly and pretty brutal. And because that is a thing that I wouldn't say is necessarily a hallmark of like the WWE style of women's wrestling typically. So I enjoyed stylistically some of the other differences in this match.
I will say something will be scared about with I'm really hoping she's just playing up a character and all this other shit. But you never know anymore. But if someone, let's say a Momo did something that pissed off Mercedes and she just backstage politic buries her and ruins her career, because that's definitely 100% happened in the past. That'd be the one thing I am super scared about with a person like Mercedes
that has a lot of control. You mean?
Yeah, because just because this person did something you didn't like or is getting more over than you are, but I want to say she respects and understands the business well enough to not be a Hogan or not be a who else fucking did that back in the day. Hogan's the only one that ever comes to mind. But I just hope she doesn't bury potential big stars because she's grumpy.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that would ever fly in WWE per se. But you hear, there's a lot, or at least WWE these days. But obviously it's dirt sheet stuff, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But there are a ton of rumors about how much drama and stuff there is backstage at AEW. So I think anything's possible. And it does seem like people's influence has affected other wrestlers already in that company. Not necessarily her influence, but yeah, I don't know. I would say there's probably other people that are maybe more toxic in that sort of role. I think I don't know if she would bury somebody like that. I think she more is just I'll be happy if I'm winning. So, and it's very clear that Tony Khan is ready to make her happy. So every time we review one of her matches, I have to ask, who do you think actually will, because there's got to be a point where, unless she gets hurt and has to vacate a title, there's got to be a point where she's going to eventually drop this title. It might be a while still, but who logistically do you think is A, believable, and B, she would maybe deem worthy of dropping her title to in this company? Who makes sense at this point?
Are you talking about the TBS title?
The TBS title, yes. I would have said Chris Statlander, but she beat her 14 times. So
yeah, I think, exactly.
I think that's washed.
I have a booking theory.
Does it have to do with the question I just asked you?
Yeah.
Then answer.
Soraya,
let's hear it.
Or is Saraya around still?
She's not with the company now. Her contract expired.
Okay.
She would be top of my list if she was there.
She might come back though, but let's count her out since she's not with the company currently.
What about is Thunder Rosa still around, or is she out of the company too?
Yep. No, okay. She's in AEW.
That'd be a good one. That'd be a valid one. I would love to see. I think she's tied up with the Mox thing right now, and in a good position with that. But I really like Marina Shafir. I'd like to see her do some more stuff. But
Okay.
but again, she's already got kind of a main programming thing going on. So,
but actually, that might add to it. Is like
true.
Add to the get all the titles on the bad guy faction with the world champion.
Yeah,
but who knows?
But those would be my picks.
I like the Thunder Rosa answer. I think, but I mean, hey, Thunder Rosa has been involved in a lot of drama with this company, so who knows? Maybe that immediately disqualifies her.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Who else? I forgot she was in this company now. Mercedes Martinez too. I think she's a badass. So I don't know if is she still in AEW? It's hard to keep track.
Bro, I don't even know. They've she'll show. She's the crazy thing about this company is they'll have them show up and then they just disappear for the longest time. So I don't even know if she's still with the company. That she would be believable. I don't know if she's a big enough star to. Because the other thing is, I'm sure if the whole rumor of she has complete creative control is a thing, I don't think she would. I don't see her dropping this title to somebody just to give them the rub.
Yeah,
I think it would. Maybe Hikaru Shida. That would be somebody else.
I
think hasn't she already beaten her though?
I don't know. I don't watch weeklies.
I think at a pay-per-view, maybe she has. She's had this title now for so long. I know she beat two other people that I thought were possible, and Willow and Chris Statlander. But
has she gone against DMD yet for that one?
Yes.
Oh yeah, and then there's a bunch of drama around her. So who knows if she'll even be back with the company? Apparently she's a problem, and they're just kind of icing her out for the rest of her contract.
Unfortunate.
That's the rumor, so to speak. But I don't know. That could be a possibility. But she already beat her once. And that's not to say that somebody that she's already beaten couldn't be the person. But maybe Thunder Rosa is the best answer. But what was your theory there, Tony?
So I think to add to her 1,700 titles, she'll go after Toni for the big belt, and there will be a title for title match, which obviously Mercedes will win because it doesn't work for her if she loses. But if for whatever reason they decided no, we want to put that one on Toni, I think Toni would be the one to do it, or Mariah May, because she's great and
I think that they gave a logical ending to her and Tony's story, so she could go to that. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, so either
that would be interesting, heel versus heel though. But
that's why I was leaning more towards Toni Storm's thing, and it would fit in the idea of Mercedes wants that title now to add to her collection. And maybe Mercedes takes it off of her and then Toni wins it back later. But I would rather have Toni beat her. Maybe this would be Mercedes's I don't know what the right term is, but the one she can't beat. Maybe maybe they have a couple TV matches and Toni just keeps winning, and then they have the pay-per-view match and it's in her head that you've never beat Toni and something along those lines. But again, with the way she books, probably won't happen like that.
Yeah. Well, interesting theory.
Darkest timeline. She wins the women's world title and AEW women's division dies because it started out so strong. I remember we talked up AEW's women's division so much when they first started, and now look where it is.
Maybe Jamie Hayter or Julia Hart. That's a couple of people that have the goods in terms of having support behind them, booked well. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Let's rate this match and move on to the next one. I'm gonna go 4. I definitely thought it was a good match, even though it was very predictable by the end.
I'm gonna go 3.
Ooh, tough customer.
I would give it a 4, but I'm taking off 0.5 for the win, so 3.5.
Okay. In the next match, Swerve Strickland defeated Ricochet by pinfall, and doing so became the number 1 contender for the AEW World Title. I really enjoyed this match. I really did. Thoughts?
I did too. This was a good one. No, I mean Ricochet's always got good in-ring stuff, and same with Swerve. They're both like really good performers.
Well, we were putting Swerve over while we were watching this, and I was mentioning like, dude, I wasn't super familiar with him from his indie run, and the guy that showed up in NXT, if you would have said, dude, this guy's gonna be like one of the best guys in AEW in a few years and like in the world title picture, I don't know if I would have totally believed it, even though like physically he was really, really good. That guy is like, he is, I think, one of the best examples of AEW picking up somebody that was like a WWE cast off and actually like elevating them to a much greater level.
Yep.
Swerve's house.
I think my only issue, and I could be misremembering it, is again time. Like could have shaved off a little bit because this was another false finish farm. Yeah, I mean it was the same length as Mercedes match basically and Hangman's, and I don't know.
Hangman's is a minute longer, but yeah.
Well, either way. I just, again, there was quite a few false finishes that like didn't make sense. Like I think what did Swerve hit him with like 3 finishers or 3 kicks to the head or whatever. I don't know. I don't actually know what Swerve's finish is. It's like
he does that. Right? He does that like he runs and jumps, and it's almost like the way he kicks his legs. It's almost like a Superman punch, but with your legs. Like. That's the best way I describe it. I don't know. Like, tell me I'm wrong. It's like the same kind of motion.
It's the back horse kick. Let's just go.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Okay. If that is his like true finish, then yeah, he like hit him with that. Like he hit him with the coup de grace and then like 2 of those kicks. And then there was false finish. It was just like, it was driving me crazy. But I do like Swerve. I agree with you. Like I enjoyed Swerve back in NXT. I was like, yeah, no, this guy's cool. And then I heard him get released. I was like, oh, that sucks. I thought he was gonna make it because he was a North American champ, wasn't he?
Oh, that's a good question. He was there for such a brief period of time. I didn't remember that, but maybe
I think he was. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, then that's on me. But
let's look. He was one time. Yeah.
Okay, so I did remember that.
It had to have been brief, though.
Yeah,
dude.
It had to be like, here you go. Oh no, we need that back, because that was back in I don't even know when. Because but I agree with the like. If you told me that guy was like, no, he's going to be one of the most over people in AEW. He's going to be a world champion over there. All of that, I would have been like, I mean, okay. But when he went over there, he got the Swerve's house gimmick, which is a weird thing to call it, but when he got that over, it's like no, it works. And then the
you know what that's riffing off of though, right?
No.
Oh, it's riffing off of Rev's house from Run DMC.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, lovely timing of him being the 8th world champion, so he ran with the like 8th wonder or 8th champion of the world or whatever he did. No, I think Swerve is gonna, if he sticks with the company, he's gonna become one of those like almost mocks, like go to, like, hey, we can rely on you, everything. I think
he already is in that role a bit for sure. Yeah.
I would like. It sounds weird. It's like I want to see him do more, and I don't know if he can do more in AEW because like he's won the world title and all these things. But I'm still waiting on the like AEW's version of Shawn Michaels when he came back. He won the world title one time, but then he never had a world title again for the last.
I could tell you the guy that should be in that role right now. It's John Moxley.
Yeah.
I'll disagree with that because Mox in my world is becoming a little stale. And like if this run that he's currently on, if you go back, I'm gonna say the Punk era. If you go back to that Moxley, 100%. Like he's gonna be the like, I don't need a title. Like I'm the name. I'm the guy you wanna go up against. But this version of Mox, no, like he's the guy I was like, no, I don't want to be around you. Like, but that's just me.
Well, anyways, back to the Swerve and Ricochet match. I will say I wasn't necessarily expecting Swerve to win this match since he just was in the title picture. I kind of thought, okay, well, they're going to push Ricochet. So that surprised me. I'm not saying that that's the wrong move either way, but I wasn't necessarily expecting him to win. I enjoyed
all around guy. He makes more sense than Ricochet, but
yeah,
I agree. Ricochet is in terms of a heel. I don't know. Clearly he was not working as a babyface. So I will say they very smartly turned him like immediately just because the crowd was rejecting him. So they listened to the crowd. I think Brother needs a mouthpiece so bad, though. He needs a heel manager because he cannot promo his way out of a wet paper bag. And I really am a fan of, Don Callis would be great. I'm really a fan of Ricochet in terms of his in-ring work, but his kind of like maniacal supervillain thing, like it's just like bad Lex Luthor. It's not, it's like when he does his like goofy little laugh when he does his promos, like his evil laugh. It's so corny.
You know what kind of character he could probably benefit from if he took a little bit from like 07 to 10 Edge, like that ultimate opportunist type character. Like I think Ricochet would do well with that. You give him, you still.
I disagree though, because part of the power of that character was his promos.
Well, no, you still give him the mouthpiece and everything, but like just kind of being right place, right time, or forcing a right place, right time, like things like that. And I very much agree. Edge, like his promos back and then were very like, I don't want to say chicken shit heel because he borderlined it. Like he would talk all his shit, and then when like Batista came out, I was like, I'll fight you. He's like, oh, nah, man, I for XYZ reason, I can't. And then they're like, no, you're gonna. And this is like, and then he would trick, like, get the major or the edge heads and like find a way. So I'm meaning like tricky shit like that.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised either way. And so, the thing that I will say, to borrow a term from the guy's name, they definitely swerved me with the whole like turning on Prince Nana, but then it was like
rude.
Yeah, that was good. I really, really enjoyed that. And I will say, as dumb as I thought the whole robe thing was, that actually like it actually worked. It seemed like it was like, dude, you're taking a lot of focus off of something that's more important at this match with this dumbass robe, but it actually worked. I dug it. The fact that it was like seemingly an unnecessary prop, but it actually played into like the psychology of the match. I was impressed by that.
I do think that was taken a little bit from even the Punk Drew feud with the bracelet, but that obviously has more sentimental reason. But also, like it's a bracelet. Just kill the guy and then you get the bracelet back. Like that's all you got to do. So like beat the guy and you'll get your robe back. Like that's all you got to do.
Yeah. Logan, you got any thoughts on this match outside of what you already said?
No, not much. It was a good one. Lots of good spots, but like nothing really in particular that you guys haven't covered already. I think it was, they're both good workers as far as in-ring stuff, so it was well done.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's rate this thing. I'm gonna go 4.5.
Ooh,
I really enjoyed it.
I was gonna say 4. I'll give it 4.
4? Okay.
I'm usually a harsher critic than you, so.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go with a 4.
Okay. In the next match, Kazuchika Okada defeated Brody King to retain the Continental Championship. Got to be honest, guys. I think this was a missed opportunity to put the belt on Brody.
I agree.
As much as I like Okada.
I was say I love Okada, and I think that he's a good champ. And it's not like I don't think that this was like ruined by him retaining or anything, but like, yeah, I think it would have been a really good opportunity to throw that belt onto Brody because
he's over. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Over and he's terrifying, bro.
I can probably justify why they kept it on Okada because of something I read about them unifying the two titles, and as we know, Kenny just won that other one. So that's probably what they're going for.
Okay,
is Kenny Okada
for unifying the Continental and the International?
Yep. It'll become weird concept, the Intercontinental. But that's what I agree that I would have loved to see Brody win this because it's like when you put them side by side, it's like Brody is a fucking monster compared to 90% of this fucking roster.
Yeah. And he's like, which is interesting because Okada is like 6'3".
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Brody is not like an overweight, like it's all muscle. Like you hit him and it's firm. He's
got a giant frame.
Yeah. He's fucking bare and I love it. I would love to see him go into like a world title, or when they unify these titles, he goes back and wins it somehow. As weird as it sounds, I think the TNT title would be beneath Brody a little bit. Like I think the TNT title is a like smaller guy championship, which is weird. I feel weird saying.
I don't know about that. I mean, like the guy that's won it the most is like a big dude, Adam Copeland.
I don't even know who's won of the most.
Adam Copeland.
Hasn't he only won it like twice?
No, he's the 3-time champion.
Well, still, that's only 3. And that was that new guy. That was that new guy, Cope. he needed the rub.
I'm just telling you, like it's. I don't know if there's. I don't think that's necessarily a small guy title. It's not like it's a cruiserweight title.
Okay, I see what you mean. I want a title on Brody very soon, but I want one that like, I don't know. I just think the international or the continental, it like maybe I'm being a little too more logo title. Like if you're gonna keep the TNT title around, like change the name, like make it something else. And maybe I'll be okay with it, but I don't like the logo titles anymore. Like I haven't been a fan from
I've never cared for those, but
a belt's a belt.
It's a title, sir.
And I was saying he doesn't have, I don't think Brody has any title victories, does he?
No, they were the triple
6-man tag.
Okay.
But no, it's not a singles. No. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get that, there's like, you can, we can do Omega and Okada again in actually AEW. And I think everybody wants to see that. That's another one though. That's like, I don't think that needs to be for a title.
No,
like
I agree with you. I think that as much as if they are going to unify the titles, that would be a decent way to do it. But like, as far as
I assume that'll be a double or nothing.
You don't need to make that match a title match for people to want to see it. Like people will want to see that regardless. So
I'll give you some like what if booking that if I was doing it, knowing let's say knowing that the goal is to unify these titles. Because I think a guy of the caliber, if you're an AEW fan, you know the caliber of an Okada, you know the caliber of a Kenny Omega. So they don't necessarily need a title to whenever they hook back up, you don't need a title to be part of it. So what I would do is I would have had Brody win this because it's like put up an up and coming guy.
Yep.
And push him. And then go later in the night, I would have still had Kenny win because I do think like they're trying to get him like build him back up after injury. But you know what I would have done? Then go ahead and unify Kenny versus Brody. but I would have had Okada be jealous and run in and screw Kenny. So then Brody wins those titles and unifies them. And then that's the catalyst for Kenny and Okada to then start a rivalry. That's what I would have done. But
let me see. When's WrestleMania?
April 20th and 21st.
Okay. So I assume if they do unify these titles, it'll be at Double or Nothing because that's in May. So that
that'd be a big match. They might do it at that All In show.
Yeah,
which is like summertime. But they're doing it.
I would think
at a stadium in Texas.
Yeah, I do know there's
Double or Nothing's always in May.
Yeah, well, there's a weekend where a WWE pay-per-view and an AEW pay-per-view are going like head to head. I don't remember which one it is, so that might be the draw. But I agree with you that like if Brody would have won it and Kenny, and that would have been also a good match. But also what you could have done is just Kenny versus Okada for the international title, because like if Okada just lost that one, he can move to the other
totally.
one.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be title for title. I guess that was my point. Yeah,
whoever wins that goes up against Brody later to unify it. Like there was like other ways to get to the same place. And I agree with you. Like I think Khan's been watching some like McMahon booking. Like, oh yeah, we need Lesnar versus Goldberg, but it has to have the Universal title. It's like, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's like, no. It does. It does. It needs the title. It needs to be bigger. It's like it's like Kenny Okada. Like they've had 3 or 4 matches now. And this AEW is like, doesn't worry about like, oh, these people might not know who this person is, so we have to like make it bigger to draw the matches. Like, no. People watch AEW because they watch New Japan.
And that's what I was getting at. What I said earlier is like, yeah, if you're an AEW fan, you know who Okada is. You know, Kenny Omega.
So like, what is Okada and Kenny's records to each other? Like, I know Okada won the first 2, and then Kenny won the last one, right?
Yes.
And then I don't know if there was a 4th one, so I don't know if they're tied or if anything like that. Because you could have built it off of that. Like, hey, we're tied. Like we got one more.
I don't think they are, but I think just even that this is the first time in AEW is like,
and in the States.
So outside of, wrong guy winning, in our opinion, I thought this match was great. I would have maybe liked to have seen like 2 or 3 more minutes of it. It was one of the shortest ones on the card.
It was,
but they definitely
it makes sense.
Use their time well.
Usually, slower or usually quicker match. But I do like that Okada won by playing dirty. So it definitely didn't make Brody
not a
being
clean
the
victory.
big monster look bad. Losing to, I mean, again, not that Okada is small, but by comparison, he is the tinier guy. And also those chops from Brody were just
oh my god,
unholy, dude. Like,
I was gonna add to what Matt said with adding
Okada
a couple
was
minutes.
Pretty beat up.
If they added a couple minutes and it was just Brody slapping the shit out of Okada, I'd be fine with it.
Okada's like, make me feel like I'm back home. I need to feel again.
They hits him one more time. He's like, okay, not that much. Like
the other thing that I thought was cool is that this was Brody King's dream match.
Yeah, that was a neat little Easter egg on it.
But then that also like reinforces that I'm like, man, I wish they would have got a little more time. Like,
they can go back to it.
He should be proud of it regardless, because the guy definitely took his opportunity. Like, okay, I'm gonna go up against arguably one of the best wrestlers in the world over the last 10 years.
Out of my hero.
yeah.
I love you.
And for being a dude that's like, definitely has made it no secret that he loves Japanese wrestling. Like he did a good job at like incorporating his style into and kind of working a Japanese strong style match. And so I loved it. I'm going to go 4.5 on this just because I thought
that's what I was.
It was a banger bell to bell.
I'll agree with you on that one. I'd say 4.5. I was a fan.
Oh, okay. Another one we all agreed on. Holy cow.
How about that?
This is
I would say run it back
2 times.
Do it again.
I wouldn't be mad about that. I wouldn't be mad if they do these. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, especially because Brody could technically have claim to do so, because again, it was not a clean finish. You know.
Yes, that's a good point.
Brained him with the title, so you could totally say, "Hey, fuck you. Let's do it again."
I also wouldn't be mad at if let's say they do that title unification, if that actually becomes a thing and they do it soon. I wouldn't be mad if Brody's like, "Hey, I get winner."
Yeah.
You know, because I gotta be honest, I don't think an Okada and Kenny Omega match for titles needs to necessarily be a long-term thing. That's why I'd prefer it if it wasn't for titles, but I guess we'll see.
So this should not happen, but just imagine the triple threat and just Brody just slaps the shit out of both of them for like 30 minutes.
Just punches Kenny Omega in the gut for like 10 minutes straight.
He just belly slaps him.
How does that diverticulitis feel? Okay,
no,
so
I agree with like who it'd be like I can almost picture it like whoever wins it, which I think if you're gonna go that route, I'd go Okada. Like Okada wins them, and then at the top of the stage, and then Brody comes out and just stares him down.
Yeah. Let's go to the next match.
Yep.
The Hurt Syndicate defeated the Outrunners to retain the AEW World Tag Team titles. Real short match. I don't think it necessarily needed to be any longer.
No, I think it was appropriately short. Yeah.
Yes.
It was fun. I like the Outrunners gimmick. It's fun and silly. Logan brought up a thing. How about you talk about? You were talking about the caliber of these two teams didn't quite measure up for you. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I like the Outrunners, and like their gimmick is fun and entertaining, but I feel like a lot of their stuff is done after the entrances are over, and then like obviously watching some of the spots that they do and everything, they definitely have that retro feel. But like it was pretty obvious during the match that Lashley and Benjamin were like for sure the better workers in ring, whereas like Turbo Floyd, which is a great name by the way, and Truth Magnum, also a great name.
Fantastic.
They were definitely. There was a little bit more disconnect with their moves. They seemed like they were like kind of waiting for somebody else to take action a little bit more. It just seemed it wasn't. I wasn't able to suspend disbelief and think that it was like a real fight as much, just because their in-ring work was a little bit less polished. And so I think it totally makes sense that it was a shorter match, and also that the Hurt Syndicate won because not only are those guys billed as being, really dominant and strong and everything, but also like just the quality of the in-ring work, I think definitely was in their favor as well. So, but again, I liked the match. I did enjoy it.
I have to point out how casually savage your comment of like, well, after their entrance, there's not much else going on. Good God.
But that's the thing in wrestling. There are some people that like their entrance is like a huge part of their character. And then after that, it's like, now what are you bringing to the table? Nothing really crazy.
I knew what you meant. I knew you weren't like going out of your way to be brutal, but I was like, dude, that's out of context. Like, if you just saw like a printed quote, you'd be like, oh my God, that's so mean.
Can you imagine someone saying that about like Taker? Like, after the entrance, it's bleh.
Well, like, okay, that wouldn't hold any water for him though. Whereas Logan, I think it's not a completely inaccurate statement but yes, So I think this was a fun match in terms of kind of upstart team underdogs like challenging. Sometimes you need those, and you need the established just badass heels to go over and just, hey, we're dominant. I think the main thing I took from this is I really think Hurt Syndicate needs a really legitimate rivalry moving forward. I kind of wonder I kind of wonder if Young Bucks should come back as like old Young Bucks, baby faces. I just, or maybe FTR. Like there needs to be like a really like established.
Ooh, I like
not to bury the Outrunners, but like, you know, they're also, even though they look like they're like 58, you know, they're a younger team in terms of like their careers. And so I think having a really, I don't know, if they want to put Hurt Syndicate over as like as high a level as they were, you know, peak WWE run, I think they need to have a rivalry that is long term and that is against a team that can step to them match quality wise.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would also agree. I can't think of like any tag teams that like size wise makes sense.
What about?
Like,
so I know we just got done talking about Brody King in a singles picture, but what about? Is their
like
faction,
him and Buddy
group still together? Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Well, it's so they changed the name of it, but it's Buddy, Brody, and Julia Hart.
That wouldn't be bad.
So I mean, like, because that's talking about size, and we just put, you know, Brody over a whole bunch. So it's like I think that there's.
But he's ready for a singles run.
No.
I get it, but
like, not saying they go like win the titles or anything, but they like you have Lashley, Shelton like go over on Buddy and Brody just to like establish dominance like a little bit more, and then when you are ready for like a feud, so like Young Bucks, I can see the feud potential, but like if you're looking at them side by side, like Bobby and Shelton would fucking murder them. And that's
that's the thing though, is that they're giant killers though, because of like their speed and their experience. I mean, I get what you're saying, but
I'll give you that. And let's see if they come back and if people like them again. But I like the FTR one a little bit more than like all of those. Like FTR would be a great like starter feud and everything like that. I forgot what else I was going to say about this shit.
About Butcher and Blade, are they still a thing?
Nah.
Blade has been out for a long time because he had to have spinal surgery. Butcher's still working for them, but yeah, they would have been a good team if they were, you know, still active. But so I think it is a current problem, and it has been a problem that the AEW men's tag team division I think it needs to be kind of re-elevated. But you got to do something different than just FTR and Young Bucks matches.
Yeah.
And so,
you know what? My last little comments on these guys, the Outrunners need to, because their whole gimmick is like 80s, right? Like that's the whole thing right now. So in like a couple years, they need to move to 90s, and then a couple years after that, they should go to 2000.
Evolve their characters like that. Just keep them the same number of years behind.
That'd be pretty funny.
I would love that. Like, just like they start coming out in like Attitude Era gear and shit like that.
That'd be pretty funny. Let's rate this. Oh boy, I'm gonna say a 3.
Yeah.
3.5.
I'd say 3.5. Yeah, it was enjoyable.
It was entertaining.
But yeah, it was definitely not one of the better matches on the card, I'd say.
Okay.
Turbo Floyd, man.
In the next match, Timeless Toni Storm defeated Mariah by pinfall to retain her AEW Women's World Championship. It was called a false Hollywood ending match, basically, aka a false count anywhere match. Bro, I love this. This is I think Same. This is there's a top 3 for me, and then they all happen to be back to back to back, and this was one of them. I love this. It was brutal. I think it's up there for. There's been some really gnarly women's like hardcore matches, but this has got to be in the conversation of top 5 at the very least.
No, it was good. Only disappointment was that nobody got tased, but I mean, what do you?
Yeah.
Chekhov's taser.
That should have been the finish, man. But yeah, no, it was a great match. I loved it. It was nice and brutal.
Good storytelling.
Appropriately short. Yeah. No, it was a good one. The bottle, the bottle to the crotch was.
God damn.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the length, Logan. This is an instance where I think that
it's perfect.
They used every minute of this so well. It was very economical in that sense.
Yeah, it was only 13 minutes, so it was good. Like a good, I guess, frame is Hurt Business. I know that's not their name anymore, but was 8 minutes, and then Okada and Brody was like 11 minutes. So it's like these two girls fucking used every moment. That's why I'm like, either one of these two could I guess Toni is the fucking world champion. I was gonna say Mariah May could go after Mercedes with like no problem.
Yeah, I would say, I know that you actually did say Toni should be the one to go for it, but I think I disagree just because she's got the belt. But
well, I don't think Toni should go for it. I think if Mercedes went after her, that would be like, because like Toni's top of the mountain, like she's the world champ. Like she has no reason to go after anything else. I don't think babyface her would.
I have to say, I love her whole gimmick, bro. Yeah, it's.
Oh,
you thought I forgot my memory?
It's a generational gimmick. It's interesting. They in a company that I think too often leans on a wrestler's past gimmicks, the fact that they I don't know who came up with this, if it was Tony Khan, if it was Tony Storm.
It's probably Storm.
I don't know, but bravo, because on paper that should not work. Be like, I'm like
so stupid.
Yeah, I'm an old timey golden age of Hollywood silent film star, and
I'm also gonna beat people with shoes.
it should not work, but it works so well, and it's honestly the best gimmick she's had, in my opinion.
I love that. It worked before, but then whenever she switched the gimmick, I was like, oh, good. I'm glad she switched the gimmick. But then the fact that it was a ruse the whole time, and that she's still with the other gimmick, it makes doubling down on that makes it so much better.
Logan's like, she got me.
Yeah, I'm glad that that's what it turned out to be, because when she first went back to her old gimmick, I was like, ew, are you serious? But then I thought it was kind of funny that it was like, oh, she thinks she's a rookie. She lost years of her memory. That was clever. And I thought they were just gonna that was gonna be her new character. And then maybe, she's going to get her, lose her brain scramblies, and then I'm Toni fucking Storm, and I've been holding it down for years and years and years. But I just figured, okay, that the timeless gimmick is done. And so good on them to know that they could do a storyline that then gets them back to that, and then it still keeps it fresh. That was interesting.
There's only one thing that will be the cherry on top of this entire thing. She needs to have an Oscar nomination in AEW or whatever, and be the only nominee and win an Oscar for that performance. That's the only thing that could put the cherry on top. And then obviously you could use that as a platform to set up her next feud. Someone comes out and beats her with the fucking Oscar or something like that.
So the speaking of next feuds, so you mentioned the thing about Mercedes. I think that could be interesting. I really wonder who's gonna kind of be the next person. I don't think that they would do the Mercedes thing quite yet with her if they were going to do that. I wonder if shockingly it's a really goofy she's a really goofy gal, and she's pretty green, but dude, that Harley Cameron gal is so over right now. She's a person that I wonder, okay, could her and Toni mix it up? Pride of Australia sort of thing. I mentioned a couple people earlier that I think Julia Hart, Jamie Hayter, that they're not doing anything interesting in terms of around a title anyways. Thunder Rosa.
Always go back to Sheeta.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep in mind who just got released from WWE, where that 90-day is coming up as well. Like, could have some new debuts. Like, didn't Tegan
Nox
just get released?
Got let go. Yeah, she's working indies already. Isla Dawn.
Yep.
Isla Dawn got let go.
Which because she was in that group with who was it? I can't remember who it was, but she just like attacked someone on Raw, didn't she? Isla Dawn and no. Who was her tag team partner?
That was Alba Fire.
Yeah, I think
she just joined Chelsea Green's group.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So Isla Dawn would be a good one. I can't think of any like NXT's women that got released recently or anything like that either. But I also am trying to remember like if anyone last year got released that hasn't like resurfaced.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either way.
But yeah, obviously it seems like this is a logical point for these two to go away from each other, which I think this was probably in terms of AEW, I think one of the it's probably rivalry of the year last year. I think short of
what I remember.
Short of I think Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, which is interesting that those I think these probably two of the best matches on this entire card. But yeah, those rivalries I think are the best ones. But so they'll have a hard time when you get like a generational rivalry. It seems like it's really hard to follow it up. And so it's a good problem to have though, because it means you've done something really special. But I'd be curious to see where both these gals go. I'm gonna go full 5 stars on this, by the way.
I think I would do 4.5.
I'd also do 4.5.
I'm only doing 1 5-star on this pay-per-view.
I love that you're like, I can't do more than 1 5-star.
You gotta protect your finish, bro.
That's when you go full Dave Meltzer and be like, well, no, this is a 6. I've broken my own scale.
Okay. Logan saving that 5-star for the main event. I got you.
Yo, that's the one. You know it.
In the next match, Kenny Omega.
I know we'll talk about the main event in a minute, but I just gotta say, I know we're joking about it a lot. It's not a bad match. We'll get to it, but it's not a bad match. I didn't love the finish, but it was actually Matt's making a face.
I have thoughts. I don't think it was bad, but it wasn't great. Next match, Kenny Omega defeated Konosuke Takeshita to win the AEW International Championship for the first time. Absolute banger. I when they announced this match, I thought, you've got basically the mentor and the student sort of dynamic, and then with one guy's manager is now the younger guy's manager. Dude, it's just
there's so many good storytelling devices in there.
They're just drop it and you've got a perfectly good match and story.
And you've got not only those two things you mentioned, but then also the guy that's been the beloved former champion that's been injured for so long, now making his triumphant return type of thing too. So it's there's a ton of good storytelling devices.
And the psychology of that was is he really back? And then they definitely leaned into using the it's not often that you see they're working the neck, they're working an arm, working a leg.
You don't see body shots being the main target.
He's working the gut. But they did it to great effect. The only other instance of that I've seen that actually was very effective was because it's such a rare condition for somebody to actually bounce back from is Brock Lesnar. They made that a big thing from time to time where that was his one weak point. You hit him in the gut because he had diverticulitis. You could kind of put a chink in the armor of, this guy that's the Incredible Hulk. So I obviously they went way, way deeper into the well in this match, but not for being a blood feud. I think it made sense where, Takeshita was I'm going to destroy your stomach. Much like bad Chipotle, I'm coming for that tummy.
I'm coming for the gut. Yeah.
that come.
Hey, you know what, man? If anybody had any doubts of whether or not, Kenny was going to be able to come back and still go, this match probably put away all those doubts. Like, the guy has not lost a step. He's
awesome.
You could tell that he's getting older. Like, his body physically looks a little different. He's a little leaner, but he has not lost a step in terms of what he can do performance-wise.
No, he's awesome.
Yeah. I don't want to eat up a bunch of time with my opinions on Kenny Omega and what he should do or what I would like to see him do. But no, I like this match. The one thing I will say is I think Kenny needs to get away from Don.
I think that's what this was, really.
Well, if they unify the titles, Okada will have Don. And
yeah.
What? That's just an assumption.
Unless I'm thinking Okada's in a different faction. Wasn't he with some group?
He is. Remember, he's like with the Young Bucks and like running the show. Yeah, no, he's not in the Callis family.
Okay, then never mind. Then we're good.
I love
everyone's with. Okay, I just assume everyone's with Don Callis.
Since you brought up Don, I did want to mention that I love him as a manager. I think
he's a good heel manager.
He's like AEW's, and I know he's not just because in AEW, he's done tons of other stuff, but like he's like their answer to the Paul Heyman effect, as far as like a manager that is just can really elevate not only the wrestlers that he's working with, but also just like he makes a match more interesting with his way of contributing, even though it's like his own way of doing it. Paul Heyman obviously is like his reactions and everything are a huge part of how he contributes to a match. Whereas like Don Callis sitting on the announce desk for those matches and everything, that's his way of contributing. So it's kind of different.
Which is probably one of the most unique takes for a heel manager, where like he commentates his wrestlers' matches, which in terms, I agree that he is kind of their answer to Paul Heyman, but he has some originality in terms of the way he presents himself.
Totally.
I think he's a mix between Heyman and Jimmy Hart.
He's got so to me he reminds me he kind of he's taken from the Bobby Heenan school, where he's absolutely fucking delusional, but then he's like, his bullshit is so thick that then you kind of start like believing it, of like, yeah, Takeshita is the fucking greatest in the, and they smartly, they've really smartly put him much like a Heyman, where they've put him with guys that he could elevate, but then also are so good that then he can make these outlandish claims of how good they are. And it's like, well, they're backing it up. It's like him. I think Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher being the best examples of guys that were, honestly, like not doing anything super interesting before they started working with him. But clearly somebody saw that, like, if we get like the right mouthpiece behind these guys physically, they're so good that like we're going to put them right at the top.
Get him with Ricochet. You'd solve a lot of his problems.
Yeah. I can't disagree with you there. The upside on Takeshita is ridiculous. I think, the comparisons to an Okada, like, I think they're completely apropos because, for a Japanese wrestler, he's a freak. He's just a giant man. And he has a physical skill set that is second to none. I think, to me, it was he needed to have a mid-card title to kind of put him up. But if it was me, I think to get him in the TNT title picture and then then step up, because I will disagree with Tony. I think that the TNT title, it hasn't been interesting for a little bit, but you got to think of like some of the guys that have held that are like pillars of this company. Darby Allin,
fucking
Edge, Cody, yes. You've got Sammy Guevara. You've got, I mean, that was the Brody Lee title. And so I think that it's currently on Daniel Garcia, and God bless Daniel Garcia. He's really talented, but he's got some things missing in terms of being like a big star. And maybe he just needs a good rivalry, but like keep pushing Takeshita is all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I loved this match. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if to fill some time, if maybe they go back and forth a little bit, but I think then yes, they should part ways. And I agree that Don and Kenny should get away from each other for a while. I'm going to go, I know, like I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to go full 5 stars on this. I thought it was a perfect match.
I'm going to give it 4.5. It was a good one though. It was hella good.
Give it also 4.5.
Okay, let's move on to the steel cage match. I think we all expected this to be great, and it lived up to expectations. Will Ospreay defeated Kyle Fletcher by pinfall. Absolute blood feud. This match was fucking crazy.
It was gnarly, man. It was gnarly. I loved it. Will is like my favorite wrestler probably ever, and
he's incredible. He is a once in a lifetime athlete. And he's come a long ways because I mean, there was not all that long ago, there was the kind of argument of like the guy, like what we were talking about earlier, like the guy has all the tools in ring, but oh boy, like he can't promo, and he doesn't have a really interesting character other than like being just physically gifted. I think like nobody can make those claims now. The dude he's great on the mic. He's got a really interesting character. He can storytell and not just rely purely on, flips. He still does a lot of flips. But
I mean, his thing is the aerial assassin, though. I mean, he's got to be able to do some of that. So
he's changed his style, though, a lot with the injuries that he's had.
For sure. He's definitely moved
40 pounds he gained.
Yeah, I was gonna say he bulked up and moved to some more power moves. And obviously this match specifically, they targeted a lot of his, they tried to poke holes in his game with doing flippy do stuff by putting it in the cage, and they definitely played to that with how they built the match, where he was like trying to springboard off of stuff but couldn't because the cage was in the way and shit like that.
That was interesting. I never like thought of that until they made that like part of the psychology.
Yeah.
I will say it was a little silly that like the first time he does that, he acts like he got like shot by a gun by hitting his feet on the cage. It's like, okay, well, it wouldn't feel quite like that. It would be more like, oh, well, I can't finish this move, but I digress.
How will I finish this match? I can't do this move.
No, he was like selling the ankle like he broke his ankle, and it was like, well, okay.
But he would have hit the
solid steel,
the stud of it, but the jumping off the, speaking of the stud of it, jumping off that into the Ospreay cutter was choice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had some crazy spots. The weapon spots were nuts. I have to talk about like I had a very visceral reaction. Tacks to the pee-pee and the balls.
I just
was fucking horrible to watch. Oh my god.
I just loved the interaction of, oh, someone's going to the Tacks. It's like, yeah, it's not gonna be. It's like, oh, but what if he threw him on his stomach or everything? And Matt's like, oh my god, that would be the worst. And then immediately gets his dick thrown into it. Like, it got so much worse.
Well, I just couldn't believe they were doing a Styles Clash into Tacks in the first place. But yeah, I thought he was gonna go chest or stomach, and it's like that's awful. It's one thing to get thrown on your back, but like chest or stomach. But yeah, I didn't think that he'd go crotch first. Shout out to Kyle Fletcher, because
it literally can't get worse than that. It's like it literally did.
I mean, dude, even if what the original intention was like your gut, your stomach, the fact that he's like, yeah, you can Styles Clash me into Tacks, it's crazy. So,
yeah.
I imagine, because I would have a similar mindset, I believe, if someone came to me with an idea, I would be like, oh, fuck, that would be so cool. I don't want to do it, but it's going to be so cool. Let's do it.
You mean Kevin Owens.
Yeah. Fucking. Actually, I would bet Kevin would be like, prime example is like Kevin would go to Seth and be like, so I want to put you through the announce table. He's like, okay, cool. But I want to jump off the WrestleMania sign. And they're like, oh, okay.
So I want to ask a question though, because there was from Toni specifically in one of the earlier matches we were talking about too many false finishes. Do you feel like that you felt like that with this match? Because there were a lot of false finishes in this.
So it just doesn't always need to be a false finish. It could be something we don't really see anymore is the double count. So replace a couple of false finishes with
like a double count, like in the ring. That's what you're referring to. Yeah, because we do see it outside of the ring, but yeah, you're right. Actually, in the ring, you don't see that very often anymore.
Like in the ring, like let's example the Ospreay cutter. He hit it from a higher elevation, so it's gonna hit him just as bad. They hit, and he goes to roll to get the pin, but he is short, and he's down. That versus false count. Yeah,
you could replace it. Obviously, you don't want to overdo that either, but you could definitely replace at least one of the false finishes with that. And then.
Or not a good example for this match because you can't really get out of it, but rolling out of the ring instead of a false finish. It was still in its own a false finish. It doesn't always have to be a pinfall false finish.
So that's why I as much as sometimes people hate on it, I'm a big fan of grabbing the rope, foot on the rope breaks. Yeah. I'm into that.
I guess if we're using all these options, my biggest issue is the kick out false finish is overused like a motherfucker. But arm under the rope and the ref sees it, that's one thing. Or you get the 3 count, but then the ref sees, oh, his foot was on the rope. No. There's so many different variations of it. You don't need to kick out every single fucking time. If anything, save the kick out for 2 or 3 of the other kinds, he's not under the rope, he's doesn't have his foot on the rope, nothing like that, and then you get the kick out.
Now, so you didn't answer my question though. Did you think there's too many false finishes in this match?
Well, I don't remember how many there was, but I'm going to assume yes.
But did it affect?
Go ahead. It didn't take away from anything, but because this match was just insanely brutal, which I think is you kicked out. Is okay, I'm gonna beat you with this fucking something I found under the ring or something I found. Where did they even get the tacks? I don't remember where they got the tacks.
I don't remember either. Somewhere.
Oh no, because fuckhead opened the door.
The lackey gate.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, Matt, I think that how I was saying, one of the things about having too many false finishes is that it kind of cheapens the moment and makes me not believe that it's actually going to be a finish. I know there's other problems with the false finish, overdoing it, but for me, that's one of the biggest ones is that I don't believe that it's actually going to be a finish.
Right.
I know that it's going to be false. Whereas because this match was so long and so violent and brutal, I didn't mind there being as many because they were more believable, because I really did think that a bunch of them were going to be the end of the match because of how gnarly everything had been. So in that way, I think that I was, less, concerned with it.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. This match was also very evenly matched. And so that's one thing I think can help too with more false finishes is if both guys are so believably matched, evenly matched, that it's believable not only storyline wise but skill set wise, body style wise. It's it's much more of an easier sell rather than if it's not evenly matched. It's well, okay, come on, is that for real?
Yeah.
And they both inflicted each other with equal amounts of horrible punishment, like you were saying. This was It's hard to say. There's been some really violent matches in AEW. This has got to be up there with some of the gnarliest, I think.
Yeah, they both got busted open. The fucking lackey somehow got busted open.
Yeah. If anything that was overdone on this card, I think the amount of blading was probably a bit much, because I remember there was I think it was 3 in a row or something where it was just like, how are they cut open already type of thing. So, but
AEW loves their blood for sure.
I was gonna say they do, and it's definitely part of the brand that it's more violent in that way, and I do enjoy some amount of it, but every once in a while it's like, okay, dial it back a little bit.
I don't think anyone has such a raging blood boner than Cynthia for times.
Blood boner.
Yeah.
Good God.
With that, let's rate this. This is a full 5 stars for me.
This is a 5 from me too.
I'm gonna go full Meltzer. 6 stars.
6 stars. This is my 5-star for sure. I'm definitely biased because, like I said, Will is my favorite wrestler. But it was also, I feel like, just a good match in general, not just because he's my favorite. So
it was great. Yeah,
I love it.
Do a good 4.75.
There you go.
Whoa, are you serious? This one get you 5? My God.
So I need to do a whole hard reset, recalibrate. I don't watch the weeklies. I barely keep up on other shit. So and I know this was a big blood feud because I saw their last match, and I need to start
Tony's
watching.
If Jeff Hardy's not in the match, it's not 5 stars for me.
No. No, I just, because for me, if there was a 5-star match on this, it would be the Toni Storm match. But again, I feel.
Did you give that 5? I can't remember.
No, I didn't. I did,
what?
Yeah.
Your logic is what?
I'm trying to explain it. I'm trying, storyline wise will always play a factor. And that's what I'm meaning, with Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. I know this has been a long time thing. I saw their last match and this match. I haven't seen anything in between. So all I'm seeing is the matches. I'm not getting the story in between, and it's driving me insane that I can't keep up with it.
I see.
Toni Storm's match, same thing, where I remember she impersonated Mariah May or something like that, or was that before and then she did
and they've both impersonated each other multiple times now. Yeah.
So basically I just need to start watching more often to get back into a regular rating system.
Gotcha.
Because I enjoyed all these matches that we've given a 4.5 and above, but nothing's hit that little mark in me recently. The last time I think I had my spark.
I think you're jaded, man. I think you're jaded.
Cena turning heel, which I didn't get to talk about because I was in therapy. Because of the heel card.
So let's move on to the main event. I want to rein this conversation because I think there's we could go way out into the weeds of they did this wrong, they did that wrong. Let's just quickly talk about it, rate it. I think we can all agree that it was, for one, it had the very unfortunate task of following the previous 3 matches, but particularly the Ospreay Kyle Fletcher match. It was really slow and plotting, which is probably also not a great follow-up to the previous match. And the finish was maybe one of the biggest drops of the ball that they have done in a long time. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm going to be honest. This was a 3 for me. I think the only reason it isn't lower is, but by the end of the match, I think Copeland and Moxley got me invested, but my God, it was a really slow burn. And I think that part of it was their pay-per-views are so long that the crowd and both the home viewership were kind of burnt out by that point. But these guys, they were doing old school 80s match after like a modern day match. And it was just poorly timed, because if you're going to do that kind of slow build thing, you can't do it after a match where people are like blowing all their energy out because of how much people are marking out. And so it was, I don't know, it's poorly booked in that regard. So, but by the end, they got me invested in it, but I just think it was not, they had so many good opportunities to do something more interesting at this finish, and it was not good. And then it was, again, like they do, and a lot of times, hat on a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat, like Swerve coming out there. It was like, what are you doing? So 3 at best for me.
I felt like, I'll agree with you. I think 3 stars is an appropriate judgment. I didn't think that the match itself, I do agree with you, especially compared to the high octane cage match that was just before it. It was definitely way slower and everything, but I still, it was a good match. I thought I still liked it. But we were all, after, because I'd forgot that Christian still had the cash in, we were kind of hopeful. I remember that, because we were talking about how, Mox has had this championship for a while, and he's kind of doing this weird, we're not a huge fan of this current character that he's got going.
Yeah.
And so it was, part of me was like, oh, hey, I don't think he's going to lose clean to Cope, but maybe Christian will cash in. So it was kind of like this cash in was like this, like, oh, maybe this will save this for us, and then there'll be a new champion and it'll be exciting. And then so like the match is going, it's not terrible, but then whenever Christian comes in before the match is over and makes it a 3-way, I'm like, oh God, this is going to go bad, because that's almost never a good idea. And then the fact that it was a failed cash in just like, it just hurts so bad to watch, because it's just seems like such a bad decision, not only in booking wise, but like if you're suspending disbelief and like have yourself in the mind of like the wrestler and everything, it just seems like it was a mistake. So
and to use that just as a vehicle to then be like, okay, well we're gonna promote and push Swerve and Moxley. It was like, well, why even do the cash in?
Right. Like, exactly. And so like it ruined our hopes of having a new champion. And it also just feels like it totally wasted the fact that Christian had that cash in for so long.
When it wasted an opportunity to build a future story with him and Copeland.
Totally. Yeah. Like, it wasted multiple things. In one fell swoop, they just like,
what do you mean? They totally just set up a story with Edge and Copeland, or Edge and Christian. It's just like, not with the title.
Yeah, fair. But I don't know. It just seems like it was like, not only did they maintain something that we agreed that we're not really a fan of, but then it also, snuffed out 2 potential other future things that could have been better. So it was just like, it was just a kind of a disappointing finish for what was, I'd say, ultimately a pretty good pay-per-view. And
it fell majorly flat. Yeah.
So I feel if you weren't going to put the title on Cope and then have Christian cash in and all that shit, it's going the same thing with like Christian cashes in early and it's now a triple threat, but they still want the title on Mox. All you had to do is change one thing. You have Cope. I fucking hate, you have Edge put Mox in his sharpshooter, and you have Christian put him in a crossface at the same time. He passes out or taps out, whatever. It's a draw. Mox retains the title, but that would have been the only way I could see to have get the same results and make it okay. The way they did
I hate failed cash-ins though, and they've become a lot more commonplace than successful cash-ins.
No. I believe me, I feel the same way. But if you're going the same route where it's like, okay, we want Christian to cash in, but we want to keep the title on Mox, having a draw where Edge and Christian technically won would have been way better than, oh, I cashed in and then got choked out immediately.
Yeah.
That would have been better. But because if you weren't going to have just Edge win, Christian cash in on him, because that is the best way that could have ended. Is Edge wins, he's celebrating for a little bit, and then gets attacked and then cashed in on. Because of Edge of all people for that to happen on would have been gold, and his former best friend. Like that's the only way that match should have ended. But because they went the way they did, the only way it would have been better is if it was a double victory. But because it's a draw, a champion would retain, and then Mox loses but keeps his title because that fits the heel character.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I do agree with you, Matt, that it was a little bit of hat on the hat to then have Swerve come out at the end, because it's like, I mean, I know why they did it, but also it's like he just won the number one contender spot. You don't need to try and set up a match with them and have him attack him afterwards. It's like that's exactly. Already established. Yeah. It's like, what do you do? It's like, don't forget is basically what that was.
Yeah, it was a cluster. So I gave a 3. What do you guys give this match?
I'd say 3 is fair. I'd say 3 is probably generous. What'd you say, Tony?
He said 5 stars.
This fucking guy.
No, it's a good 3, if not like a hair lower.
Yeah, so for me, if in the actual match, if they didn't turn it around before the cash-in thing, which they definitely did, then I think this would be like a 2.5 for me. I know that sounds harsh, but
so these two guys being former top WWE guys, the slow burn is like WWE's go-to thing, and like I think that's how they were working it. They're like, no, we're gonna do a WWE match in AEW, and I completely agree with like the unfortunate you were following. So I think the issue, I have the card pulled up right here. I just think the issue is like move Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher to the middle of the card. Like that's where that should have been. Like right after Okada and Brody, and then you put Kenny after Mercedes and before Swerve. Like that's how I would have put the matches, because then you would have had.
I think you gotta. I'll agree with you, except for you don't have Turbo Floyd coming out after the Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher match, bro. Like, sorry, the Outrunners following that is not
burial of the Outrunners. Logan is fucking merciless.
I like them, but like, dude,
God.
So like, you're in a way proving a point of like, I don't think it would have mattered where those people were on the card. Like,
I don't think I'd be fucking saying I like them and everything as much if it followed that, though. I think I would have completely forgotten about them. Like, yeah.
This was poor card building, because Kenny, Ospreay, and the main event were all 25 minutes and more. Like the Kenny match was, the Ospreay match was almost 30 minutes, and then Toni Storm's match was 12 minutes. Like, if you just rearrange those 3 matches to be more spread out, I think the main event would have done a little bit better.
I see what you're saying. The 3 longest matches were all back to back at the end when everybody's already burnt out. So no, I feel you. I feel you for sure.
Yeah. So my counter to that is that had they not done the finish the way that they did, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
Yep.
I think the slow burn, people would have forgotten all about that. It's that paired with a bad finish, but let's rate this whole card, because I know Logan's got to get going. Let's rate this whole card out of 5 stars, or you can Meltzer it if you'd like. But as a whole, what do you guys think?
I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
Yep, I would say 4.
I'm going to say 4.5, because I think those 3 before the main event, like, dude, all these other matches could have been garbage, and I still would have been happy, because those 3 matches were so good.
They were so good. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna say in every pay-per-view, if the Rizzler is on it, it'll never be like too high.
Yeah, and Logan's and if the Outrunners are on it, it's definitely not a 5 for me.
The real travesty here, Matt, is that you rated the Moxley Cope match lower than you rated the fucking Big Boom AJ Rizzler match.
Again, I'm gonna blame the finish.
Matt does love his chocolate chunk cookies, man.
Yeah.
Cookie.
Let's give that 5 big booms.
5 big booms.
All right, dudes. This was fun. Thanks for hopping on this morning and talking about some AEW, and looking forward to reconvening for the next one.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us.
That is it, my nerds. Thanks so much for checking out the episode, and thanks to my guests, Logan and Toni, for coming on and chatting about some AEW. Great conversation, lots of fun. If you're digging what we're doing here on Nerds with Opinions, make sure you are following me on social media at nerds_opinions on both X and Instagram. You can find me at Nerds with Opinions on Facebook. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just make sure that you give me a thumbs up on the video and make sure that you're also subscribed, hit the bell, all that good stuff. But subscribing to the channel is the most important thing. If you're checking this out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure that A, you're following the podcast, and secondly, you can usually rate the podcast or review it, and positive ratings, positive reviews really, really help me out, and that would be much appreciated. So with that, I bid you adieu. As always, I am your host, Matt Holman, and you have been listening to Nerds with Opinions.